To reach lower income people and poor people, we want to develop this mass housing, building on what the Ministry of Housing has already done, what the Federal Mortgage Bank has been doing, to ramp this up and have these rent-to-own schemes where after several years of renting, the owner can now own the home. And this will be done in a way that this is a legally documented transaction under which the house is leased in exchange for annual rent with the option to own at the end of the period. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me now conclude by saying, underlining one or two things. The first is that this initiative, which Mr. President will launch today, is aimed at assisting not only the lower middle and middle income class at getting access to mortgages and to housing, but also to the lower income. Because there's a mass housing component that I just explained about, and there's also the guarantee scheme, even for lower income people to access mortgages if they want. So the microfinance banks that will get some of these resources so that they can enable poorer people to add a toilet in their house, change the roof if they want, add a room, and so on. So we've really looked at this issue along the income scale to try to touch as many segments of the population as we can. Let me also say that this is what we are doing is the first step in a process that will lead to more affordable and accessible housing for many Nigerians, and very importantly, will create jobs. We've talked at length about the job creation potential. It will take the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Corporation 3 to 4 months, once it's been launched now, in order to operationalize and set up itself. It already has offices. We have an interim CEO, an interim board made up of the private sector shareholders, and of course, the Minister of Finance representing the government. 3 to 4 months before they will be able to now go to the market, get the liquidity going, and we are very grateful to Mr. President for some of the concessions that he's trying to enable institutions to operate. But we expect that by the end of June, and I want to say it very clearly, so that people do not think that after today they can go to a primary mortgage institution and get a mortgage right away. It will be towards the end, which is around the corner, that we hope Nigerians can now walk into PMIs and be able to apply and access mortgages. Before then, the mass housing component will be kicking off with the Federal Mortgage Bank and other institutions. And I hope all this will lead us into a future in which working together, the private sector, the public sector, the NGOs, the civil society, all of us working together can deliver an exciting new future in this endeavor for housing. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
As she steps down, can we work together in giving her another round of applause? Our message is very, very clear. Housing, owning a house is a fundamental human right, she said. And for a lot of us, we also believe that after food, housing is the most important human need. No wonder Philip Moffitt says that a house is a home when it shelters the body and comforts the soul. The next speaker understands this because professionally he is an architect, but he's also the supervising minister in charge of land, housing, and urban development. Please join us, I welcome here architect Musa Mohammed Sada.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, Your Excellency, Vice President, Mr. President, please permit me to stand on the well-established protocol by the PME for once of time. Mr. President, I consider it a great honor and privilege at this event to be at this event on this auspicious occasion of the formal launch of the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company. I wish to officially appreciate you, Mr. President, for this exemplary and purposeful leadership, as well as your strong commitment to effect a fundamental change in the housing finance subsector through the launch of this wonderful initiative today. It is on record that realizing the enormous national housing deficit of about 17 million units, which was hinged primarily on the absence of long-term finance, Mr. President has directed a more ingenious and robust way of facilitating the provision of sustainable housing finance should be explored as quickly as possible. What we are witnessing today is the positive result of Mr. President's unwavering commitment to the realization of this objective, for which we express our immense appreciation and gratitude. On behalf of the Federal Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, I also wish to express our appreciation to the Coordinating Minister of the Economy and Honorable Minister of Finance, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, for working tirelessly to ensure the establishment of the company and its formal launch by Mr. President today. As the national institutional champion of the housing and urban development sector, I wish to express the readiness of the Federal Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development to continue to partner with all relevant stakeholders in the built environment to significantly improve access to housing finance and home ownership in Nigeria. Undoubtedly, the formal launch of the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company today by Mr. President is a big step towards realization of this objective. The coming on stream of the NMRC today will undoubtedly serve as an impetus to the effective implementation of the mass housing initiative of the Federal Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, aimed at rapidly increasing the national housing stock by addressing the supply side through a number of delivery models, including affordable low-cost housing, social housing, cooperative housing, rental housing, and regeneration. For example, over the last 2 years, the Ministry has delivered over 17,000 housing units under its public-private partnership contractor finance initiative in 11 states of the Federation. The complementary figures for Federal Housing Authority are also 1,700 housing units and 12,400 by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, respectively. Accordingly, the current effort of the Federal Housing Authority to provide 39,000 housing units, consisting of 20,000 units in Buhari, 18,000 units in Kwali, and 1,000 units in Zuba, under its new Towns Development Scheme, will be impacted positively, as the beneficiaries will have the opportunity of accessing the facility offered by NMRC in view of the expected linkages of NMRC and FMBN. In view of the expected linkages of the MRC and FMBN, it is our expectation that the operations of the data will further be boosted with its enhanced capacity to provide mortgage finance in support of mass housing delivery through its two principal windows of National Housing Fund and mortgage loans by primary institutions, the estate development loans, in order to build up its portfolio of housing units. The FMBN has further expanded its products to the informal sector through housing cooperative societies and Nigerians in diaspora. We also remain committed to ensuring the simplification of streamlining the land titling system in the country in order to make land transactions more affordable, transparent, and faster. In this regard, we are collaborating with state governors and Presidential Technical Committee on Land Reform to put in place a set regulations that will accelerate the land titling and registration of more land across the country, thus providing more Nigerians access to housing finance through the NMRC. In view of the expected upside in housing development activities arising from the launch of the NMRC today, the Federal Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development is collaborating with the states and other professional bodies in the built environment to ensure that standards are complied with so as to avoid the collapse of buildings through the instrumentality of National Building Code, which are hopeful will soon be presented to government for approval. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, economic growth